how do you still fight for this country? Why is it still important to you?
Because I cannot let my husband's death was already senseless enough, the way he was killed by an American, and the way the military turned his back on him. They won't give him the Purple Heart. I mean, all this stuff, right? Really? They said his death is non-hostile. So no Purple Heart for him, right? So they've already buried him and dishonored him enough. I've dishonored him enough with the way I've failed and made mistakes in life and didn't step up the way I needed to step up when our kids needed me. So I feel like if I give up on our country or the hope that our country is, that would be the last way I could betray my husband.
I'm just going to keep it going. What's going on, everybody? It's Anthony Russo with Blunt Force Discussion. We're going to have a really great episode today. Talk about a wide range of subjects. We are just coming off of 9/11, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about our guests. We've got two on this episode. One you've seen before, one you have not, both with great stories. And I think we're going to kind of get into some maybe conspiratorial topics, as well as just talk about what's going on in the world. What are you laughing at, Barb? This is why we can't have nice things.
It is why we can't have nice things.
It's not ready for you to talk yet, though. Okay, all right. We are going to get started first with going through a brief ads.
He's such a bitch.
Are you talking? They can hear you. You're on a hot mic. Stop talking. Anyways, I can't say SHIT yet because, Anyways, one of our sponsors, bluntforce.mymonate.com. Again, that's bluntforce.mymonate.com. You can see the product's probably even dirty because I've been using it like crazy. The hair doesn't look bad. My mom's even in the room, and she can even tell you the hair looks better than it usually does. And she is my hardest critic, also my best supporter in many ways, but also a very hard critic. Please go to bluntforce.mymonate.com. Check out some of the products. They do have a new product that is just launching that is actually there to restore hair. They have a wide range of skin products. The Rejuvenate oil is great as well. And if you don't know, they are a network marketing company where people have done very, very well. I encourage you to check it out. Go to email me if you have any questions at bluntforcediscussion@gmail.com. Put this away. And second, of course, the world is going crazy, as we all know. There's food shortages, supply chain breakdowns, etc. Farmers can't plant as many crops, and if they do, in many ways, our government tells them to destroy them. I don't understand why. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why it would make any sense to anybody, especially when there's poor people that can't afford food. Anywho, that's why you need to prepare for increasing numbers of food shortages, and the best way to invest is Ready Our emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Perfect hedge against skyrocketing prices and shortages. Right now, save $50 on a 4-week food kit from My Patriot Supply. Preparewithbtc.com is where you go. Again, that's preparewithbtc.com. Get $50 savings on your 4-week emergency food kits. And last little bit of advertisements, as you guys can see, I'm rocking all of our gear. We have a bunch of new shirts up, including Live Each Day like 9/12/01, and also some other fun ones like End the Fed and some other good stuff. Check that out at awakenotwokestore.com. Again, that's awakenotwokestore.com. We'll be right back. I have to explain 9/12. We'll talk about that during the show. Last but not least, there's a lot of you joining now from Area 52 TV. We at about 58 minutes, just to make sure if you guys don't play it, that's where you guys are watching. Thank you for joining, and you can continue to watch on our YouTube if you don't catch the end of the episode. And also, please, guys, could use all the help we can get. As I can say, the fake bricks are not cheap. Some of our guests are, specifically Barb Allen, which I'll introduce in just a second. Very cheap. Very, very cheap. So go to patreon.com/bluntforcediscussion. Again, that's patreon.com/bluntforcediscussion. Let's get the party started. We've got two guests today. One you've seen before. So first I'll start real quick with Chad. Say hello to everybody. Tell everybody what you do, because I don't think anybody actually knows who you are.
Nobody knows who I am. No. Absolutely not. Yeah. I'm a hooker with a good heart. That's the bottom line. I'm usually walking and working. The host of the Chad Prather Show, Blaze TV, and I have no idea why I'm here. I'm here for Barb Allen, actually. I just came to be close to the greatness and the effervescent presence that is Barb Allen.
You clearly have never met Barb Allen. Don't speak yet. Just wait.
Barb had me on her show. Barbara had me on her show, and we had great chemistry, and I thought there was a thing. It was like a dating game kind of deal. Her fiance hated the idea. My girlfriend wasn't a big fan of it, but we've traded pictures. It's weird.
It's super awkward,
It is now, but now we're gonna make a friend thing out of it.
She said you sent pictures of your microphone, not anything else.
That's pretty much it, yeah. Up close and personal. It's a cylindrical object, either way.
And it changes sizes, totally depending on what kind of weather it is. So we've got Chad. We got Chad Prather on the show from the Chad Prather Show, and then of course Barb Allen. And really, the reason why Chad was here is, we were just talking. We were supposed to grab some dinner, and we're like, Chad, if you want to come a little early, jump on the show. But we didn't need to because Barb is obviously effervescent and loving and fun. Why are you looking at me like you're only 10 years older than me, and you look at me like you're my mother? Ladies and gentlemen, Barb Allen.
I don't even know what to say at this point. I can't say half what I'm going to say when your mom's staring right
trust
at
me. You can say whatever you want. Fuck, shit, cock, balls. It's
wow.
fine.
Okay.
Totally fine.
That is blunt force.
That is blunt force.
Barb, so you are a Gold Star wife. Give a just very quick background because we'll go a little bit more into your story as we go. Tell everybody a little bit who you are, author, et cetera, all the different things you do.
So I'll start with explaining what a Gold Star wife is because most people, fortunately, don't have any idea what that is. I was included in that group of fortunate people until June 8th, 2005, when my husband was killed in Iraq. And so when you are a family member of a service member who is killed on active duty, you are a Gold Star family. I'm a Gold Star spouse because it was my husband. There's Gold Star parents, Gold Star siblings, and Gold Star children. So we have 4 boys. They were 6, 5, 3, and 1 when my husband was killed. And we found out almost immediately after he was murdered by an American soldier who was arrested and tried for the murders and then acquitted, even though he pled guilty. It was a 3.5-year traumatic shit show that sent me into a 10-year tailspin. Took my kids down with me once or twice, or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 times. Yeah. And finally, I hit that point way below rock bottom, where rock bottom looks pretty appealing at that point. Like you'd give anything just to be back at rock bottom.
Picture
right?
life as Hunter Biden.
Picture life as Hunter Biden. Yes, for Hunter Biden would have probably been a mentor for me at that point in life. So I had to make a choice, either continue going down or get my shit together and get back up. And so with the help of mentors, friends, family, I was able to turn it around, and today I'm sitting here with you fine gentlemen.
Yes, that's pushing it. You fine gentlemen. You fellas.
You
I
fellas.
think that's what we'll stick with.
Fellas,
that.
yeah.
Y'all,
I'm comfortable with fellas.
I'm sitting here with y'all.
Yeah, I love y'all. That's
I'm
my
sitting
word.
here with y'all.
That
How'd
works.
you do that? How'd you get into the y'all hats, by the way?
Well, I'm from the South. Contrary to Wikipedia, Wikipedia tries to paint me as being some northerner. There's a
New
carpet
Jersey,
bagger.
right?
Yeah, well, I was born in New Jersey. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you and I have talked about that, but I only lived there 4 months. You can't help where you're born.
Right.
I was conceived in the South. I grew up in the South, and
That's the average relationship time in New Jersey.
it's pretty
4
much,
months.
yeah, exactly. So I grew up in Augusta, Georgia. Y'all, I don't know how I would speak without that. And then so what we did was we did a play on Yale.
Yeah.
The Yale T-shirts, college T-shirts, because I like to do stuff that people look at it and they go, "What does that mean?"
Right.
And so we did y'all T-shirts, and so the hats came out of it and the whole
Gotcha.
deal.
That's like, do you know, you're from New York, Barb. Do you know what Hey
Yes, I am.
I know, it's a totally different world, different country. Do you know what Hey Dudes are, the shoes?
Hey dudes.
Hey Dudes, you know what Hey
Of
Dudes
course,
are, right?
absolutely.
You do not. So kind of like the y'all hat, like where did the conversation come up with Hey Dudes? So Hey Dudes is like, if you own a pair of cowboy boots, you also own a pair of Hey Dudes. It's like this country brand of
I have cowboy boots. I'm wearing
It's
them right
basically-
now.
They're
but
basically
I did
cowboy
not have
loafers.
Cowboy loafers.
Hey dudes.
Hey Dudes.
Hey, dudes.
Do you think, and you don't even know what they are, but I'm sure at one point they'll get up there. They're everywhere in Texas. Who was sitting around a table and was like,
Hey, dude.
I got an idea for a shoe brand name, and not somebody at the end of their, it would have been me being like, that's a terrible idea for a name of shoes.
I've always said, as an apparel person, I've been in the T-shirt business. People think of me now because it's a big business, but I've been doing that since I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
We would go out and I'd have T-shirt ideas. I'd have them printed up when I was in college, sell them on campus. And that's been, almost 30 years ago. So for me, I think of random wild ideas and people are like, what does that mean? I was like, it doesn't have to mean anything. Those Hey Dude shoes, they make the soles of those out of yoga mat material. And so that's why they're so soft.
Yeah,
and so, who knows why they did
so
it, but they've taken off. It's incredible.
Yeah, they're the most comfortable shoe
Yeah.
in history. New York, you don't even know what's going on, do you? You don't.
No,
I'll
we're
take
not,
you next door. When we're done here, there's a giant superstore next door, and there's wall after wall of Hey Dude shoes in there.
I cannot wait.
Take some of those home to your...
Are you going to go on the Ferris wheel with me?
I'll do anything you want, Barb Allen.
We got a bottle of wine for that, too.
This is moving on up.
We're gonna be doing shots eat early on this one because I feel like we do
Good.
need to
We
start
need it.
drinking. So we're gonna do that right after. Let's see. Let's finish. Let's fully go into your story, Barb, in terms of exactly what happened to Lou, your husband, and because there's really no laughs there. It's just a bunch of garbage. Because a lot of people think, they think of a Gold Star wife, especially once you explained it, that husband died in line of duty, fighting for his country, which he did. But yours was also loaded with a bunch of bullshit that actually is inner fighting. So explain kind of the background of the story.
There is no humor there, but that doesn't stop me from making really poor tasting jokes over and over again. So if I do that, it's just how I roll. It doesn't mean, well, you can think whatever you want. It means I don't really care, but there may be a poor joke coming out every now and then. Yeah. Yeah, Lou went to Iraq in 2005. He deployed on Memorial Day 2005. But actually, when he decided to join the National Guard, it was right after I was pregnant with our first kid. And he's like, I'm going to join the National Guard. I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, I'm pregnant, he's like, that's why I'm joining the National Guard,
Right.
I'm like, and he said, National Guard only goes upstate for snowstorms, and we would deploy on weekends. He's like, it would take a historic event for the National Guard to be deployed.
And what year was this?
This was 1999.
Okay.
It would take an historic event for the National Guard to be deployed. I'm like, oh, yeah? I'm like, well, here's what I have to say to that. I'm like, if you join the National Guard, I guarantee there'll be some kind of war and some sort of historic fucking deployment, and you're going to die in some freak fucking way in that war, because that's how it goes for us. And, we laughed about that. He told me what a sick person I am. We kind of laughed about that and made a joke, but then years later,
Building 7 clapped itself.
he was, yes, he was actually murdered by the staff sergeant of the unit, along with the commanding officer. That's a long history of the staff sergeant. He should have never been in the National Guard in the first place, was given a mental waiver. He had a semi-shady criminal history in the background, and nobody told the commanding officer, Phil, that Martinez was the staff sergeant, was threatening his life over and over and over again, all the way up to the IG's office. I'm going to fucking frag him. He should be scared of me. On and on and on he went about he's going to kill Phil because Phil was having him removed because Martinez was stealing supplies and he was a problem soldier. And so when Martinez found out that Lou was coming in to help replace him and chapter him out with Phil, he decided to kill them. And he, just a few days after Lou arrived on base, 10 days after I kissed him goodbye and he said goodbye to our 4 children, he was in the office with Phil, and Martinez detonated a Claymore mine outside the office building and then threw grenades around. So a Claymore mine is a brutal weapon. It is an ambush weapon. It is unsurvivable. It's a kill zone 100 meters. It ejects 700 steel ball bear. I mean, I learned all this stuff about it. And so Lou wasn't killed instantly. He had a couple of hours to experience all sorts of things that you never want to experience and understand the fact that he was dying now. Like, not tomorrow, not next week, not when he's 60, but like now, and so I had to find all these things out over the trickle of 3.5 years of a court martial. More information came. So it was just relentless trauma over and over and over again. And, I'm going to Kuwait for a court martial. I'm going to Fort Bragg for 3.5 years. We're watching the case fall apart. I'm trying to do media interviews and keep interest up because I see things going away. And I knew that if people were watching, maybe, you don't know. Like, you try to get attention so that the worst doesn't happen, right?
Were you originally told that he was killed by an enemy, or were you immediately told?
I was originally told that he was killed in his sleep in a mortar attack, and I just knew that wasn't true. He was supposed to have called me that day, and he could very easily call me. He had called me that morning. We spoke on a video chat, and he was supposed to call back, but he didn't. And I knew that he would have called back. He wanted to say goodnight to the kids, find out about a test I was having, medical test I was having. So I knew that wasn't right. And then the next day we were told that it was an American soldier, or they suspected a murder. It was a homicide investigation. So now you're like,
who gets
what?
Who gets murdered while they're in the?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And so I had to do like my own investigating, my own interviewing. I had to figure stuff out and study up on the case because it just started to get so crazy and so out of control, and I wanted to understand it. I got my master's in criminal justice. I went to another capital court martial for 3.5 months and sat there speaking with government experts and families because I couldn't understand what went wrong in our case. And I thought that if I could understand it, I would find some peace, or something. I just didn't. I had to do something with all the
Right. And what
in
you
me.
what you yada yada,
So,
which I was alluding to about
yeah.
Building 7, is that thing that actually happened was 9/11, which is what caused the National Guard to deploy. Correct? Is that why he
9/11 was the catalyst for it, and Lou, because we do live in New York, we live about a 90-minute drive from Ground Zero if
Yeah.
there's no traffic on the way, and so we had a 3-year-old, we had a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a newborn on 9/11 that day, and Lou was a high school teacher, and he came flying in from work, grabbed his shit, and went to the city. And so I'm there with a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, a newborn. My husband's going into the place that was just attacked by terrorists. We don't know if more buildings are coming, more planes are coming.
Yeah.
We don't know any of that, And that was the catalyst. And from that day on, I think National Guard really stopped being weekend warriors,
Right.
Like now you're in the National Guard, you're in the reserves, you're in the military, you're deploying. Or maybe not so much now that, we're at peace. Right?
Yeah.
But
Your
at some point.
Chad, you had somebody on the show from the Alpha Elite. What's his name?
Travis Wilson.
Travis.
Yeah.
And he talked about even the hiring practices, and we talk about how the hiring practices suck today. He was talking about the fact that there's been often that military hires crappy people, and it sounds like that was the person that was doing the bad dealings that ended up killing your husband. He was.
Well, we talked about it in recent weeks of the show of how the recruiting quota of the military branches is not being met now, and
Right.
so they're not. They're like 60% off in their recruiting quotas. And the military likes to put the stuff out there and say, well, we don't have quotas. Well, they do. They do, and they're not hitting this. So one of the things the military's always done is they've had basically remedial PT or even intelligence stuff.
Yeah.
If, you needed more help in these areas, they give you time to build it. Well, they're kind of speeding that process up, which is not a good thing. So I texted Travis the other day, and I said, I want us to talk about this because it's starting to hit the headlines now. And he goes, they've always had remedial because they've always brought dumbasses in to the military, right? He's like, they'll take anything. Certain branches will bring anybody that's breathing in. And again, I don't say that with any disrespect to those who serve, but again, he's a Green Beret. He's seen a lot of action, and he's got the right to say pretty much what he wants to say. So we talked about that, and when you're at a point where you're willing to accept a lot of different dynamics, whether it's mental, physical. All kind of things can come up. Obviously, in Barb's situation, you're dealing with a significant mental case that just that was overlooked, not dealt with, or ignored.
Yeah. Or so he was. The thing was, did you ever actually truly find out what he was doing? Like he was essentially covering up an illegal sale or what it was.
On top of the fact that he was just a poor soldier, he had no interest in being a soldier. He just wanted to collect his paycheck. He had done things like he burned his house down for insurance money beforehand. And
You lived in Detroit?
No, then he would burn other people's houses down.
Yeah.
That's the difference, right?
Funny enough, no, they actually,
really?
total tangent. So there's what is it, East Detroit? East Detroit, they started getting, when the economy started falling apart, they found out that you can get insurance money. So if you go there now, there is like 1 home, 5 homes missing. 1 home, 10 homes missing. They were getting insurance money for what they used to be worth, burning them down, and then they caught wind, and then people would just burn them down and be like, oh, I don't get money. So that's why it looks like a war zone in Detroit. Or like what you see on TV on Ukraine, which isn't. Whatever. Moving on. Back to Lou. And back to the story. So what was he, besides being a crappy soldier, what was he actually doing?
He was selling equipment on the black market. And so, that's a no-no. There were NVGs missing, and there were tens of thousands of dollars. And so he and Phil were both held accountable for that. At one point, very early in the case, prosecutors said to us in a meeting that they basically said it was a legitimate black market dealings, like bad stuff. And that's what brought this all to be. But then they walked that back, and they never came back and said that again. Because Martinez at one point looked around and he said to the CID and all that, and he said, if I go down, I'm taking people with me. And so I believe in my heart that is what led to him being acquitted. That's why I wrote the first book. That's why I got my master's in criminal justice, because I had to understand how this case could fall apart. Because every time I said to somebody, hey, the judge made this ruling, hey, this happened, hey, that happened, hey, these people are on the jury. Like the United States Army's chief trial attorney for the United States Army appointed himself to come into this case midway through, and then made such atrocious rulings that when I would say to people, hey, the judge said this or didn't say that, they'd be like, oh, you must be mistaken, because I'm just I was
Grieving
younger
wife.
then. Yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
the young, grieving, crazy widow and bitter. And so I couldn't possibly know what I was talking about. Hence the degree. I kept thinking the degree would like make people believe me more, right? But
No.
that didn't.
Which is funny in this day and age, a degree makes us believe you less.
Right.
I mean, in all reality.
Right. So yeah, I believe with my heart that at a minimum, up the chain of command knew about it and were just going to be held accountable and didn't want that to happen, or it was going to be a blight on them. But it was, just Martinez and not as big a deal, but it just didn't look good, right? So they wanted to go away. Or at worst, there were people involved in it that would have gone down, with him. And so he had to be acquitted at all costs.
And he's walking around today.
No, ironically, he died. He died a few years later. So the great irony is if he had been sentenced and convicted and was sitting on death row, he would live to be a ripe old man, because the military doesn't actually execute its death row prisoners. They commute their sentences or they die of old age. They haven't executed somebody since the 60s, I think. Yeah. Where if you look back, 1940s, 1945, they executed like 150 people. But now, over the years, it's like 8 or something.
Yeah.
So they just don't carry out the death penalty. So he would have been alive and well on death row if he had been convicted, but they let him go. And, karma took care of what the military didn't.
How'd he die?
We weren't told all the details, just alluded that it was a drug. He had got a job, like some prison in Florida hired him, and he was caught smuggling drugs into inmates. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Seriously?
Yeah, like really. So, the implication, the reference that was given to us is that it was a drug-related death. But
Did he work for the Biden crime family?
and maybe he did. Who knew? Like, who knows? Nothing would surprise me, really.
Oh, man. All right. We can come back to that story at the end if there's any final details you want to leave. But at this point, I think we lighten it up a little bit with a little don't get the shot seat. What do you say?
Don't get the shot seat? Sure.
Hit it. All right, so since we got Chad in the house, and I forced him to drink whiskey against his will. Apparently, your favorite drink though is not tequila and not whiskey. It's apparently white wine, like a Sauvignon Blanc. We went to
Only when my girlfriend's around, and she tells me that that's my favorite.
You were on. You actually even mentioned it, or you mentioned on the show the other day that you had the white wine, and then we bumped into each other at the Uncle Tom screening, and he ordered a full healthy helping of white wine.
I did. My girlfriend's weird that way. She's like, it makes me feel very romantic when you drink wine with me.
There is something to that.
White wine, red wine.
Red
she
wine
likes-
more.
White wine is not horny wine.
Red wine more.
Well, thankfully, there's two things I really love in life: red wine and whiskey. They both hurt me.
Okay.
And so they physically cause me ailments. Yeah. I can drink a little bit of whiskey, but not a lot. Okay. I used to drink a lot. A lot. And not to get drunk. I just enjoyed it. But red wine tears my stomach up. I discovered all of these things.
You have to drink organic red wine.
Is that the deal?
Yeah.
So the white wine doesn't do it?
Barb, we doing?
Barb gets a choice: tequila or whiskey.
Tequila?
Yeah.
Here.
Pass that on.
So I discovered that
this one shit's about to go sideways.
I could drink white wine and I can drink tequila, and so I definitely drink tequila pretty much every day of my life.
Interesting. Well, it's healthy. I mean, look at The Rock. The Rock looks like,
that's it.
Do you like his tequila?
I'll drink it if that's what's there, but I'm not a fan.
See, I'm glad that I didn't get that then.
Yeah. No, you're fine. It's fine, but I just have things I think are better.
It's cute how he tries to please you, right?
So we've changed things up. Obviously, you were the first.
Weird little bromance.
So,
I know, you guys went to the bathroom before. It was so cute.
We did.
And that was before we had whiskey.
We stood in the same stall.
Yeah, I mean, actually, he sat.
We didn't even pee.
He sat and I peed in between the legs. It was awkward. There was a lot of room there. It was super weird.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, Barb.
Cheers, Barb.
Barb.
I need to bring you some of my 76 shot glasses in here and stack some of those up.
I haven't tried this one yet. It's actually pretty good. So
that is a good whiskey, though, that you've got there.
I actually never tried it.
Wait a minute.
Brothers Bond.
This was a shot, right?
Oh, God, Barb. Sweet Jesus. I probably should have.
Didn't you just say it's a shot?
We work together and you don't watch my show. It's the shot. Don't get the shot. Oh, Jesus. All right.
Did he not just say it's a shot? I watch your show. I have watched your show.
He calls it a shot seat. And here's Barbara.
Very literally.
Here's what I'm gonna do, Barb. I'm gonna do this shot just so I can be with you, okay?
Oh, thank
so we
you.
can share this moment.
Shit.
It's good tequila.
It's really good tequila.
Here's to looking up your address.
That's pretty.
How
good
did
stuff,
that?
though.
How did that line start? Here's to looking up your address. I don't know why that.
I've never heard that.
You ever heard that?
We got. Speaking of that, though, do y'all ever get
Y'all.
threatening calls? I know you get the messages and the hate and stuff like that on social media, but do you ever get the threatening calls?
No.
Where somebody's somehow gotten a number?
No, not yet. I'm not
that cool.
We're not that big of a deal yet,
Yeah.
Chad.
Yeah,
Not
we,
that
we
big.
got one.
Just
that-
from the government. I would get calls
Oh,
from
yeah,
the government
FBI.
and the military.
Yeah, yeah.
Like literally, I would get the
Yeah,
calls.
one of my partners. Well, we got one last night, but I mean, we're one of those people. We can. I got security teams. We can snap this shit up real quick. We know right where you live. This happened to be a Google phone. This was a throwaway deal.
A little harder.
What'd they say?
So yeah, what'd they say? Don't leave us hanging over.
Oh, they just want to come visit, which we welcome them to do
I have
so.
a feeling you'd be the wrong house.
we
to come
welcome
visit.
them to do so.
Yeah.
And, and on the show when I had Travis Wilson on there, and when I have military guys, special ops guys in, I always ask them like, how do you fortify your home, your hotel, your car?
Yeah.
Like, how do you operate? Because
Yeah.
those guys, they're head on a swivel kind of folks, right? So we had that conversation yesterday. Listen, my house is one of those where any room I'm in, pretty much any place I'm in, there is a gun, at least a handgun within reach, within a step or two somewhere.
Yeah.
They're strategically placed.
You got a pretty big house. You got a lot of guns.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
guns.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of guns. A lot of guns. And I have multiple houses, which, I mean, so I got them.
So you're ready to go just in case.
they're there.
Okay, well that's good.
My truck is well fortified.
As it should be.
I need to give you a tour of the truck one day.
People know your truck, so if they're
They
gonna
recognize it.
yeah, they recognize the truck. If they dislike it, I just think it's funny. And the side that talks a lot of shit isn't armed.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it comes down to that. That's true. That's true.
So this is the don't get the shot seat. So what that means is, we take sips. Do I have to change it to sips for our blonde
Well, you
guests?
definitely shouldn't call it a shot seat if you're not doing shots.
That's a big shot, Barb.
Yeah, that's
Feeling that? I'm feeling it.
Yeah, that's a lot of shot,
Yeah.
as Kelly would say. So I don't even know why I
We
grabbed the
don't
drink
go
again.
halfway, New York.
So it's the Dr. Ardis Labs. Don't get the shot. You go to thedrardisshow.com. We now have a whole link where if you want to click on his protocol on how to get your glutathione up, flush the shot if you've had it, to make your health a little bit better, and also to fortify yourself just in case there is another pandemic. So you've got Doc's Viral Defense, which is probably the best thing to take, and it's got all the main ones: zinc, selenium, NAC, quercetin, and betaine, whatever. I don't know. It's good for you.
That's good stuff. Let me see that.
Yeah, thank you. So there you go.
that
And then
bottle.
selenium. Selenium's a key, but this is good stuff. If you go to order it, go to thedrardisshow.com and use BFD at checkout for 10% off. I just ordered my second bottle of the Prostate Pro.
Hell yeah.
I heard, speaking of the urinals, I heard you had a little interrupted flow.
I do.
You might want to give it a shot.
I try to get a massage every day.
In what part of you?
My prostate.
Oh.
Ain't no pill doing that, baby.
No, I do make it to 7 a.m. now without being in excruciating pain to have to take a piss.
That's good.
Party for me.
Yeah, I think I've told you before that at my age, I just go to sleep on the toilet and visit the bed 5 times a night. I just stay right there.
Just chill.
It's hard to start, hard to stop.
Well, now you got a book to read tonight.
Yeah, two,
Yeah.
2 books. Barb has written 2 books.
You read. I wrote 3, but I didn't give you the chick book. You read the covers. You're done.
I got you, girl. I'm
read
a
the
pretty
covers.
fast. I'm a fast reader. I read a lot of books.
Kelly,
and I
read
actually will read those because I'm excited to read them.
Kelly read the most recent one. Which one is that?
What not to wear to a murder?
Is that the
trial.
one? Yeah.
Fantastic. Give
loved
me
that.
the camera here. That is a fantastic cover. I'm going to get the glare out of it just a little bit. That is her, blind justice, Barb Allen, with the sword out there in front of the courtroom. And that is a fantastic. Who did that cover? That's incredible.
So you know that sword. Mike Fallett's company did that.
Oh, really?
That sword was actually the one at display at my husband's funeral.
Oh, wow.
So it was like meaningful for me
It
to
is
hold
meaningful.
it there.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Keep making a joke, Dick.
Yeah.
You can make jokes. Oh, the jokes I have made, I'm definitely
Incredible.
going to hell for the jokes I've
love
made.
it.
On the way to the funeral, on this, on that. I mean, I could Off camera, I'll tell you some of the good ones.
And if people aren't watching Barb's show, they need to be, because I am fascinated by Barb Allen. Right?
She's fun.
She's good.
Yeah.
She's a good guest. She's a good interviewer. She's all the good stuff. And
I like when she gets excited.
she
needs to
just
get
doesn't
more excited.
care. She just says what she wants to say, and I love that about her.
Yeah. All right, here's the shot seat questions.
But don't
which
drink the
We're already
shot.
like 13. Do you want to call it the sip sheet?
I'm gonna call it the pussy show, or whatever, because
You have
cannot
one
call
drink
it the
and you
shot
become a
seat.
lesbian. Awesome. All right.
You wish.
First question.
Man can dream.
The way we're supposed to do this is the scissor seat, whatever. So here's the deal. If it's
love tequila.
just drink if you want to drink while you're answering the question. First question. I'm gonna go with Chad. Do you think I'll come to you as well.
don't
Barb.
care.
Do you think the moon landing really happened?
I don't know that the first one they say happened. Mm-hmm. I think we've been on the moon.
But maybe not the.
Maybe not the one they claim.
Gotcha.
I have my doubts there.
Yeah. I used to be a shut your mouth. We've been to the moon. I'm not that way at all anymore. What about you, Barb? You guys were both alive for the moon landing, right?
I was not.
I'm just kidding.
The actual one, maybe.
Yeah.
There you go. I think Dave would like this conversation much more. He would have much more to add than I do. But I don't have enough information to know. It wouldn't surprise me. I would say this. It wouldn't surprise me to hear that the first one was a bunch of bullshit and that we went after that. Like, it wouldn't surprise me anymore. Back in the day, I would have been like, you're crazy.
don't believe
Get your
shit
tinfoil
anymore.
hat down, all that
Here's
shit.
my
But
thing.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Have you ever been to Graceland? Like, the Elvis movie just came out. If you've ever been to Graceland,
Okay.
like it's all the same stuff from when Elvis was alive. Like, it's still decorated exactly the way it was. If you look at the technology, and that was cutting edge, right? Back in the 70s. I mean, his security cameras and stuff, his TV room, his carpet, his furniture, everything. You look at that and you go, yeah, I don't know that we had the technology to do what we claimed to
That's
do.
what they said. Yeah, we don't have that same technology now. That's what they've actually
Right.
said. The reason why they haven't been back is we don't actually have the technology to go back anymore.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Elvis movie, there was a unfortunate sudden death of an adult actress on there that just randomly passed away. I think during the "Don't Get the Shot" seat might be something to bring up.
Yeah. The lady who sang Hound Dog on there, the blues singer. Yeah.
Natural causes at the age of 47. I
That's
think.
what they say.
Super weird. All right, here's a fun one. Barb, what's the worst job you've ever had?
The worst job I ever had. Oh, there's so many. I have to pick one. It would probably be one of my waitress jobs at one restaurant that was really incompetent. So people
Hooters?
blame shove. No, I wasn't cool. Do I look like I could work at Hooters?
Hey, there's a time and place they'll take pretty much anything.
Barb.
I'd have to be like the dishwasher at Hooters.
Don't you mess up my fantasies.
I can make suds look good, but but yeah. So I actually quit that job by literally throwing a plate in somebody's dish.
Wow,
good
and
girl.
walking out.
Straight out of
They
the movie
deserved it.
Basically, like.
I like it.
That people really do that, and I did.
miss
The guy
waiting
deserved
tables.
it. I had a lot of bad jobs.
It was a shitty customer.
I had a lot of bad jobs, but that one was the one that.
I miss waiting tables actually. I wish I could do it I need to buy a restaurant. so
You
I
were
can do
the
it
waiter that sat down in the seat and wanted to know your whole fucking life
Hells
story
yeah.
while you
Yeah,
put the
drew a
order
little
in,
heart
right?
on the paper right there and drew
Okay.
his name out.
Little
My name
smiley
is
I was
face
Andy.
and
I'm straight.
He had more flair.
Yeah, Andy.
he had the frosted tips.
Exactly.
I did have frosted tips in college.
For me, I came from a construction family. My father was an engineer. He was a builder, developer. My grandfather was a brick mason. All these things. So, this is the difference between then and today. When I started working in the summers out of school. My father would take me to work at 6. From that day forward, if I had free time, I was on a job site. They gave me the shit jobs. These days, parents don't give their kids the shit jobs.
Right.
They always gave me the shit jobs. Put a broom in your hand, sweep up this job site. It's like, y'all are using bulldozers for the same thing. You gave me a broom.
Yeah.
Like, I understood that as a kid.
Builds character.
Yeah, builds
It
character.
builds character,
Now you get to
100%.
bullshit on camera and make plenty of money for your family, your multiple
Yeah.
houses, and all your guns.
Yeah.
And you know what? The people that didn't get the shit jobs, you know what they're doing?
Yeah.
The shit jobs now.
I had a guy today who said, "Oh, I have a real job. I'm not a social media influencer." I said, "Come follow me for 1 week. I swear to you.
absolutely.
Come follow me for 1 week. You will be exhausted."
Yeah, or he could trade, have him follow me and realize that you don't actually always make money doing it either.
Exactly right.
Be like,
Exactly
work
right.
just as hard and be broke all at the same time. Again, that's patreon.com/blunt force discussion. Patreon.com/blunt force discussion.
Over the website. I want you to make sure you get that out.
Oh no, that's good.
Crucial.
See, Joe's the man. He's got the lower third. We're good. All right.
Well played, Russo.
I'm doing a long shot. See, just because I want to have fun with you guys. So this is a weird one. Yeah, we can just keep pouring, Captain. Take the whole shot. What is your favorite smell, Chad?
Favorite smell.
Favorite smell.
What kind of question is that?
What do you? Favorites? I'll lead. Vanilla. I love the smell of vanilla.
would.
I like vanilla. I have never figured out what it is strippers put on their body. Like they can be nasty, ugly, but what is it?
That certain smell.
As a guy who's been married twice, and maybe the strippers had something to do with that. We won't go into that.
Yeah.
Deal, but I've always tried to figure out how is it? What is this lotion? And I don't frequent
I can
strip
tell you what it
clubs.
is. I know what it is.
What are you putting on your
It's
body?
Japanese Blossom from Bed Bath & Beyond.
It's some of that. No, it's cotton candy. It's cotton candy smelling perfume mixed with a few shots that they took at the bar because you can almost pick it up, and then cigarettes.
Well, let me tell you something. When I go home and take my jeans off, they don't smell like that, okay, after all the rubbing. But that's a whole other story.
That's called tuna. All right. This one is definitely not the PG. We're going to have to check on the YouTube, not for children.
Yeah. I don't think I've been in a strip club in 25 years, though.
You don't think you have, or you definitely haven't?
I don't think I have.
I don't like strip clubs. I've always said I don't like. They're why. Do you know what my favorite game
As a
of strip
disclaimer,
clubs?
all that was a joke. But
Yeah. My favorite thing about strip clubs is to get the stripper's real name.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I'd go once a year, and I always typically hated it.
I'd go with a group of guys like for some kind of deal, and I would sit. I was like trying to figure out what their daddy issues were. Like it turned into a counseling session.
I would do the same thing.
Like, why are you hurting?
What's
going on in your soul?
Hurt you? Hurt you?
What is happening to you?
But I
what
will
can
say,
we do to build you up?
There's some normal strippers. There is not, and I very, very long time ago, I worked in the sex toy industry. What? Don't judge me, Mom. Number two. But no, I work, and honestly, seeing some of the porn stars there, they were soulless. I talked to Yaku Boyens about this. Like they were just soulless. Yeah. Strippers can be pretty normal people. Some of them.
I'm very good friends with a lot of people who are in and have been in the porn industry. I say very good friends, like we don't have sleepovers. Yeah. But for some reason, I have a huge fan base of people who are actual porn stars.
Interesting.
There's a lot of conservatives.
Yeah.
I mean, by God, that is the essence of capitalism. Trust me when I tell you.
Right.
There's a lot of conservatives, though,
the guys are more normal than the women. I mean, yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole other discussion.
You know,
Barb?
I think my head hurts.
What's your favorite smell?
What's your favorite smell?
Smell? What a weird fucking. I feel like
you said
Dave
your
should be
college
sitting
roommate
here.
was a lesbian. So is it tuna? Is that your favorite smell?
No. I would have to say, since we're all being weird, I love the smell of horses. I like the smell of horse shit wafting in my window. I like being out in the barn and getting dirty.
I get that.
That smell is home
smells
to
like
me.
money.
No, it smells like money.
Money
I'm
going
paying.
out,
money going.
Money,
Money
I'm paying.
going
Yeah,
out.
it
I always
smells
said
like
never
being
have a
broke.
hobby that eats, and I'd have that. You have that. We understand. His girlfriend certainly has that. So.
We were just talking. I said, see, my filter's on now because I could have said something there. But
are you feeling under the weather?
But yeah,
give her
so
another
that
shot
would
of
be
tequila.
You told me a funny story earlier about your college roommate. Can you?
No, I'm not telling that story now.
Everybody thought you were a lesbian. It's a funny story. Even when you said you had a boyfriend. Oh, I'm getting. This is the same look Kelly gave me when I brought up a topic she didn't want to talk about. Does she still follow you? Nobody knows.
Revenge will be mine.
Come on, pantsuit. What do you got?
Pantsuit. I literally almost wore that thing today. It would have been so great if I did.
All right. So horseshit. That's
So
your favorite
I was a loser for many, 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 many painful years, right? The girl that couldn't get a prom date, the girl who hid in the bathroom because I had no friends in high school, like that kind of girl, right? Like loser, 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 loser. I went to
We get the point.
college. Well, I just wanted to make sure you knew I was a loser. Okay, so I go to college. My roommate happens to be a lesbian who is a very sweet girl, and I had no idea that she was a lesbian. She was just my friend, right? She's my friend. Like I was close with her. I really
Snuggled
loved
together
hanging
like
out with
nobody
her.
thought
And
anything
we didn't.
different.
No snuggling.
What year were we talking?
So
What year on the calendar?
long fucking time ago. Let's see.
90?
Early
92.
92. See, back then you didn't know.
I didn't know.
Back then, that was that time frame where you thought they maybe.
Right.
It was a thing, but it wasn't like out.
Plus,
Right.
I was like so naive. I was really just really naive. Then I finally, by the grace of God, after some bad experiences, I met my husband right before my last semester of college. And, I'm in love and I'm so happy. And I come back, I tell my writing instructor, because of course I got an equestrian science degree because that's so useful. So I got my equestrian science degree. But I tell my writing instructor, I'm like, Miss Cleary, I have a boyfriend who's coming to visit. And she almost fell off her horse. She's like, wait, did you say boyfriend? I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, but I thought you were. And I'm like, wait a minute, what did you think I was? And everybody's stopping, like the class tops are all looking, like everybody thought I was a lesbian.
You're bossy, you have short hair, you like horses.
I wasn't a boss and I had long hair. I was a nerd.
Armpit hair.
But I love horses, right? But yeah, they all thought I was a lesbian because I hung out. And our other good friend was also a lesbian.
So you didn't tell me that part.
Well,
if it quacks like a duck and if it goes down on a duck, it might be a duck.
But I didn't know, and they were good friends. Like they were the nicest people to me. They were like one of the few people who were just nice to me.
I'm nice with people. I want to. Okay, let's see.
Well, they were used to rejection too. That's the whole deal.
That's it. Try.
Rejection
At
was
first
like
you
my
don't
theme
succeed.
song.
All right.
What rhymes with rejection? Can you write a song about that? Ejection.
Ejection,
No, but
election,
that's
erection.
lame. You can't just say rejection, ejection. Like that's
I can
cheating.
say I can.
Say
can.
ejaculation.
I can.
weird.
There's a lot of near rhymes.
Right. Near rhymes are more
Perfect.
fun.
I mean, perfection that rhymes with
There you go.
it.
Perfection, rejection. Yeah.
Erection.
Perfect. I'm the perfect reject.
Final
There's a song somewhere.
final two questions on the. I keep saying each week it's the longest Shotzi, but it's more fun with this these two. So let's see. Most
more fun.
The last one's a little weird. First one. What did you want to be growing up? Why are you giving me a dirty look?
Because these are the weird. You know what these are? These are like icebreaker questions at your college dorm night.
Exactly, which is why it's called the shot seat. That
What's your
apparently
social security number?
Yeah.
Let's get a little more in depth here.
Let's call an 83-year-old woman and ask her all of her personal information, like we're from Pakistan. All right, what did you want to be growing up?
I want to be a doctor. I want to be 100%.
Yeah, Barb.
I wanted to be a cowgirl.
All right. Last question. This is the weird one.
Oh, that's the weird one. I can't wait.
This is the weird one.
All right.
What's
Like
the
your
most
face.
bizarre thing you have ever witnessed somebody do?
I mean,
You got anything? I feel like you've seen some weird shit in
I've
your
seen some
day.
weird stuff, dude.
Yeah.
I've seen some weird stuff. I mean, I pissed my pants in right field in Little League. That was a weird thing. I saw somebody walking down the street with a 48-pound tumor in Nigeria in a pot on their head that had just gotten removed, and they wanted to keep it because they thought it was sacred.
That's a good one.
I've been on the streets of San Francisco. Trust me, there's some weird, quite literal shit going on there. So yeah, I've seen some weird things.
Barb?
Vote for Joe Biden.
People that are still
People that are
riding
still
with
Joe
Biden. That is the Don't Get the Shot Shotzi by Dr. Ardis Labs. Now you're being shamed.
It doesn't close. It does because I have mange.
Yeah, that's right. You just got mange. It's awkward for everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't get how mange works. Because you were in town for one day with your fiance.
That tequila.
Can you give mange to somebody while doing heavy petting?
You can get
question.
monkeypox.
You could, yeah. I still think you gave monkeypox. Gave Dave monkeypox.
I did not give Dave monkeypox.
Hope not. They are cute puppies, though. Okay, let's get back to actual real topics. Those were great, though. Okay, since we're just after 9/11. Chad had his guest, and he didn't want to get too much into the conspiracy side. I noticed you brought it up, and you were great at you kind of dialed it back a little bit. But Travis, is that his name? Travis.
Yeah.
Travis.
Yeah.
But we can talk about it because Bobby Sauce has done a great job. Like he's your everyday conspiracy theorist. I love watching him because first off, as a disclaimer, it's not a disrespect to the people that died that day or the soldiers that went and fought, because in all reality, not looking at the truth
Right.
is actually a disservice to those, especially Barb's husband that went and fought for our country because of it. I don't even know where to start anymore with 9/11 because each year I feel like we're learning more and more. I just saw a great video of two guys interviewed that has been completely scrubbed from the internet. I think it was Ian Smith shared it, talking about the explosions that happened in the building that just make absolutely no sense. So, how deep does your conspiracy level go?
Yeah, in recent years, I'll tell you in a funny way. I said to my girlfriend, we were talking one day, and I said, I need to ask you. I said, I'm going to make a statement. I said, your response to it is going to determine the future of our relationship, really. And she goes, oh, God, because I get deep on things every now and then. She didn't know what to expect. And I said, here's the statement. I said, 9/11 was an inside job. And she goes, totally. And I was like, and this is why you and I are going to be together forever, right?
Yeah.
Because, so I think, was it not? The answer is yes. I think it was a little bit of everything that was there. There's a lot of things that, that you just can't explain what's going on. I was watching video again this morning of the two towers coming down, and it's like, it's just not physically possible. I mean, what we know physically of those buildings and what interacted with them in terms of kinetic energy that impacted them, it's just physically not possible. Then you got the Building 7 thing, then you got the Pentagon. How does a 125-foot wide airplane make a 16-foot hole? None of that stuff make any sense. And there's no debris of an airplane at the Pentagon. So
Disintegrated.
yeah, I mean, it's just physically not possible. You can interview any person that's ever been to an airplane crash site, people in the military, people in the FAA, anybody, and they all say there is debris from an airplane. No matter where the crash site is, how it happened, whatever, there's always debris from an airplane. There's no black boxes. There's a perfectly good passport of one of the terrorists a few blocks away from the World Trade Center. The fact that the thing continued to radiate heat at the bottom of the Trade Center towers for months after that, which gave indication almost of an incendiary blast that was on the borderline nuclear in terms of its temperature. How many times, look at the simple things. How many times do you get on an airplane? I fly 200,000 miles a year. I never know the flight number. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine getting on the plane going, hey, I'm on this plane that's been hijacked. I'm on United 93. You don't know the plane. You don't know the flight number you're on, especially when that's going on. You do not know that kind of thing. So you're looking at this stuff, and it's like, what's the answer? I don't know. But I think, and again, you got Bush, you got Cheney, both testify the 9/11 Commission, both not under oath. Both of it scrubbed you. It's not public information. So there's a ton of things that are there.
There was the billionaire developer, that story as well. That's fascinating that their meeting got canceled about terrorist events the day before because he had to go and have a dermatologist appointment.
None of the maintenance people that work on the building showed up at work that day. The head maintenance people did not show up.
And both of his daughters were independently late to work that day that worked in the Trade Center.
Yeah.
Super
And
weird.
you had Silverstein, who owned the lease on those properties, increased the property insurance on that just prior to that whole deal. You could talk about the Rumsfeld $2 trillion that went missing at the Pentagon. Particularly that part of the Pentagon is blown up where all of those records are now gone.
And Halliburton got a $8 billion contract, and that was the only one that was able to pitch. You have obviously a little bit more intimate feeling to it, Barb, because that's what sent your husband to essentially cause and effect, sent him to more war as a National Guardsman. Have you delved into the idea of some of the issues surrounding that day, or is it something that you don't want to think about?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I do, and then I had to stop. And even this, sitting here for this, is really emotional and almost painful for me, right? Because we just felt it so much. Yeah. So when again, it wouldn't surprise me, and I have such a distrust of our government and world leaders in general, and just I think there are good people among them, right? But I think there is just so much going on where human beings are being toyed with and used as pawns with no regard for their lives or the people who love them. I would say the flight ticket number thing, I don't think that in itself is so unusual. It's on your ticket.
I would agree on that.
And I think if somebody's calling like, hey, track this flight, see what's happening, I'm on this, right? But other than but everything else, I would say, it's just...
It's fishy.
It's fishy.
It's unfortunate.
And so, it wouldn't surprise me, but it would devastate me. And I have to find a balance between digging into things and giving my energy and my soul and giving it power over me, because there's nothing I can do about so much of it. So that just adds to my issues that I'm still working through and dealing with, and things that I have to manage on a day-to-day. I operate on a base level of pain that's probably a little higher than I'd like it to be, than maybe some other people, I don't know. So I have to work hard to manage it, so I can only afford so much other pain on top. And that's really painful to think about and hear, especially knowing I can do nothing about it. And every time I turn on the news, I see stuff that just enrages me. Every day we're impacted by things. I see things happening to our children and my own family that enrage me, right? And so I have to take almost the coward's way out and not dig into this, because I'm afraid what we find would
No, it's not the coward's way
would
at
just
all.
send me over,
It's
and
'cause,
I
again,
can't do anything about it.
You
So-
talked about me pulling back on that thing on my show, because I'm like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
I
Right.
bring up this controversy, but you say, what are the deals? These are questions you can't answer.
Right.
They're questions that should be asked. They're questions you just can't answer. At the end of the day, that's why I say, I don't know. I hate to think that our government would do something like that, but then again,
How could they do something like
but,
that?
how could you do something like that? I've been around George W. Bush. I thought he's a pretty good old boy. He's like, wants to hang out with you. And you think he's one of you. How could something like that happen? But, you look at the TSA, it's still in effect. It was supposed to be temporary. You look at the Patriot Act, which is a complete violation of our Constitution. You look at the surveillance, the NSA, all of these things that have been built up to bolster the world being basically run by the elites, the cabal, the people that were in this shit show over COVID and the pandemics and the shutdowns and big government, New World Order, modern monetary theory, all this kind of stuff, the ESG scores, Great Reset, all of these things are in place now. They're all in place now. So if you just look at the results, you got to go, I don't want to believe my government is doing it. But then, do we even have an American government anymore? That's what scares me. Do we even have a constitutional republic anymore? Or is it just one big cabal running the whole thing, and it's smoke and mirrors? I start to think maybe we're plugged into a simulator at some point.
We heard Biden, I think it was last night, talk about DARPA, or yesterday, talking about DARPA multiple times during his speech. Like, this is where anybody that looks into DARPA, if you believe in the Constitution, can't be a fan of DARPA, and he's now bragging about it. It's like they have made it to a place where they can put whatever they want on the teleprompter, no matter what it is, and the people will look at it and go, "Oh, DARPA, no big deal."
Right. It's like saying, "Hey, let's just embrace Sharia law."
Yeah,
why not?
Why not?
Let's elect some of them who embrace it into Congress, and then say, "Oh, well, if you oppose that, well, then you're a racist."
Yeah.
But again, what we're being told there's nothing we can do about it. Back to what Barb was saying, nothing we can do about it.
So I think in terms of your stuff, Barb, like, what can you do about it? You can't do anything about it. You see, there was another soldier that was in some kind of a theater, and I don't know, a previous soldier that was yelling about, Iraq, who, you sent, I think he was yelling at one of the bushes. He's like, you sent them to Iraq, answer for it. I think we can do something, because you're able to speak to soldiers in terms of the fact that you can essentially say, we need to question our government at this point. We need to make sure we have a strong enough military that if we get attacked, we can protect ourselves, but at the same time, it's arguments like this that is why we should not be spending money in Ukraine. We should be spending money on.
Forget about Ukraine.
Yeah, I know, but that's my thing. The more we talk about specific things like this, and again, I don't think we have to delve so far into conspiracy theory. I think we touched on every topic. We touch on it. We also don't know the truth, because who would think that an American president would be okay with killing thousands of Americans and then sending tens of thousands to die? You would hope that it's not that or that's really what we're dealing with in this world, in this country.
I think, for me, like you said, it's not saying don't dig into the 9/11 conspiracies myself personally, because I can't do anything about it, and then doing nothing else. It's okay, I know that that's a shit show. I know that I accept I will never know the truth of what happened on all those days, about so many things, about all this, right? So what can I learn the truth on? What can I make an impact on? What can I do to heal myself and other people, instead of focusing on the stuff? There are unwinnable battles. Everybody that says, "Oh, never give up. Oh, you can't, never quit. Nothing's unwinnable." That's a bunch of just bullshit right there. Like, you have to acknowledge, you have to make tactical retreats. I think that's what I'm getting at. I had to make a tactical retreat from digging into some things, so that I can focus my energy on the things that I can do. I can make an impact on. I can do the work that you and I are doing together, right? I can meet people like you guys and come here and do that. So that's where it is. It's not that I don't care, not that I don't want to know. It's that it's a tactical retreat for me.
Joe, how much time we got left in the 58? Where are we at? 53. We got some time. Let's go ahead, Barb. We didn't talk about Flex Your Freedom, so let's make sure anybody watching on the Area 52 TV knows about your books, knows about Flex Your Freedom, and then even a little bit about Great American Syndicate, which we're working on together, and the Great American Summit. Sum up all the different things that you work on and go.
Okay, well, you could help me with this because you are now our partner and colleague in arms. So my fiance, Dave Brown, and I, we launched, it was American Snippets. We have rebranded to the Great American Syndicate. And it's about connecting patriotic Americans to connect, collaborate, conquer challenges together. Dave has started talking about our event, like Tony Robbins meets CPAC, right?
Yeah.
That's our Great American Summit. I call it personal, professional, and patriotic development. It's in a nonprofit sphere, so everything we raise goes back to support organizations that work to support military, law enforcement, first responders, and at-risk kids. But it is, I think we all go to professional events. I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I'm going to talk about our Great American Summit first, because we all go to professional events. You speak at events, you MC events, you're all over the place. How many of those events that we are at in America packed with people who paid money to be there, who took time off of work, took time away from their family, said, I want to go to this event because I want to gain value, I want to give value. How many of those start with our national anthem? How many of those add a nod to those who serve in our communities, not just the military, those who serve in our communities? How many of those talk about the American dream, about giving back, about responsible citizenship? How many just stop and pause for a second to acknowledge this country and all it's been through and all its pain and its beauty and what we have to lose and go for? Why don't we do this at every event? Why are the national anthems only sung at sporting events, if they're sung at all anymore? But I'm glad to see they're making a comeback. Why doesn't every single event start with the national anthem? And so I feel like our event has large impacts on people's lives and then little impacts. We want to do the ripple effects. I want people to come back to this summit every year. The first one we did was banging. It sucked ass to put together. It was excruciating.
And then
I'd rather
execute
give
it during
birth, than
Omicron.
do that.
Awesome.
Right? We did it, and I'm proud of it. We did a great job, and the stories we're getting about how it literally helped people change the trajectory of their lives and the impact it made make it all worth it. Now we're going to 10x that. We're going to bring it back next year and make it great. Even bigger than it was and more impactful than it was. And that's because we're in this country where we can do that, right? We're in this amazing country where we can do it. No matter how fucked up we are. Are we bleeping this out? I'm sorry, I cursed. I had tequila.
No, we're fucked up.
That was literally that was like the 87th F word, and now you're like,
I know. Yeah, by the way. But, so I think that's where I really feel very passionate about that, because my husband and so many others didn't serve and sacrifice. People that come back from combat are carrying such burdens with them, and for what? Like, they need to, those people deserve to live their American dream.
Yeah.
Like, unencumbered, unchallenged, just supported, right? But we're not doing that. We're attacking the American dream. We're attacking the people. So why are we doing that? Like, why aren't we seeing what's happening? So all of this is what we're working for in the Great American Syndicate, which is an online community people can join, but we do live events. Your membership gets you a free ticket to our Great American Summit. And the Flex Your Freedom show is where I interview people like Chad and you and so many other just
huge names.
Really
You've had
American,
really, really big names.
really great American citizens who have these stories. Some
More like Chad,
some
obviously,
fled
no.
communism and came here. They got important stuff to do. I mean, just inspirational people, right? Because we have more in common than we're allowing ourselves to remember. And so that's what we're doing. And all of our guests have something to teach. Even you
No, thanks.
have something to teach.
You did a great job eating that whole 5 minutes that we had before that. I'm just kidding. But no, find find another first event that has Bedros, Nick Vujicic, Jason Redman, who
Ray
else?
Care.
Ray Care,
Steve Sims, Martha Krejci, Steve Miller,
Ryan
Ryan
for
Weaver.
a first event, and again, it was bad timing because
Chad
of
didn't come,
Omicron.
but-
Chad apparently was playing with the ragamuffins or something. I don't know. Next time.
He was massaging his prostate.
That's. God, I'm not gonna lie.
People for that.
I've lost a day doing that before. But no, it was for a first event. It was phenomenal, and this next one, and that's why I jumped in, because it's local, and then obviously I've worked with you guys in the past.
Yeah.
Flex Your Freedom. You've had huge names on the show.
Huge names. Some of them
huge.
I have been terrified to interview.
Yeah.
Terrified. And
So-
some of them I did a bad job on.
So you can find Flex Your Freedom, Flex Your Freedom on any of the podcast
Any of the
networks,
podcast
and we're
networks.
actually forging a partnership with Great
Yes.
American Syndicate, and all the companies with Blunt Force Discussion will be on your channel as well. And then we're working on all that patriotic shit together. So, and that's what's great about the event is it is an ability. Going to the Republican events or conservative events or patriotic events, you feel great after you leave. Like, oh, there's still people who love this country. How do we combine that with people that do real estate or make money and find a way to be entrepreneurs and make business? We always talk about do things with your dollar, speak with your dollar, and we actually that's what the event is all about. So go to greatamericansyndicate.com, correct? Greatamericansyndicate.com to learn more, become a member, join, all the good stuff. And to support this show, patreon.com/blunt force discussion. We've got more after the with the bonus. We're just going to go ahead and hit it, Joe.
Arlington,
Yeah.
You're close to the airport, huh?
Yeah.
Six Flags. I'm close to Six Flags. I don't know why.
Down there.
Huh? I didn't know where the hell to say. I'm like, where's
was the one
good
text I
location
didn't
of a
reply
hotel
to.
I should get? I don't know where I'm staying. I had to pick a place.
She heard there was Six Flags, and she's like,
No, I didn't. I heard, you know why I picked that? Because it has a kitchen and I knew that it had a coffee pot. You know how many hotels I've stayed in with no coffee pots? What the fuck is that about?
'cause
I
they
could do a
have
whole
coffee
show
in the
about
lobby,
that.
you
No,
lazy
but some
ass.
of them don't. And what about the people who get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning?
That's
Call me
called a
lazy ass.
psychopath.
That's true.
Well, I wake
Maybe
up.
I've been up
psychopaths
Chad and I wake
need
up to
coffee
pee.
too.
I woke up in the hotel across the street at 4.
And did they have coffee?
And not in the room.
See?
So I can relate.
See, it's fucked up,
I've been
right?
up
And
to-
so
I've been
usually
up since 4 and there was no coffee. You want more of this?
I have
Maybe a
traveled
little
with
bit-
my
little bit
coffee
more.
pot before, but I didn't want to do so. That's
You
literally
traveled with your coffee
I usually
pot?
bring a coffee if I know if I can't guarantee there's a coffee pot in the room. I bring my coffee
You know, they've
pot
got
with
some
me.
cool little travel stuff that you can deal with.
But
That's a little bit better.
That's why-
Minute Men coffee. You got a coffee already for the show?
No.
All right. So he's flying in.
they sponsored our event.
Did they?
Much to
That's
their
right, that's-
regret.
When we're done,
Yeah.
I'll tell you his story. He's been fucked by everybody, so he's looking for people to partner with, and he's got money to spend. So.
Okay. Well, don't tell him that right now. By the way, before we go on, what is the 8646?
Get rid of Joe Biden.
Yes, I just got it. That's smart.
Yeah.
That's
So you have worked
amazing.
in a restaurant before.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, one of my worst jobs was cleaning chicken. So yeah, that was. We used to. It was a chicken restaurant. We used to cut and clean the chicken.
With soap and water?
No,
I'm just
no,
kidding.
It came in. Came in.
I killed my first
Came
deer.
in slick. You know what I'm saying?
First deer
The
last
whole
year, and the
chicken.
whole cleaning of that's a. Whew, I was there for it. I held the legs up. It was awkward.
I had to cremate animals. That was gross.
How did that
you
not
had-
be on your? You would rather cremate an animal
You
than
didn't
work at
say
a
the
restaurant?
worst job. You didn't say the grossest job. You said the worst job because there were.
I feel
there
like it's
were-
the same thing.
Managing the Humane Society had rewarding moments. It just had really difficult, gross ones
Got it,
to
got
go
it,
with
got
it,
it.
right?
Yeah.
So, had you said the grossest job or the grossest smell instead of like your favorite smell? You're so fucking weird. Who asked what your favorite smell is? That's the weirdest question I've ever been asked.
Really?
Well, on a show.
Let's see. What's back to you, Barb? With all the shit that happened, obviously with Lou, and seeing where the country is today, and you, part of what we all do, Chad, me, you, is we fight for the idea that is America. After you've been screwed by America, how is it that you haven't turned to another side and been so mad? How do you still fight for this country? Why is it still important to you?
Because I cannot let my husband's death was already senseless enough, the way he was killed by an American, and the way the military turned his back on him. They won't give him the Purple Heart. I mean, all this stuff, right? Really? They said his death is non-hostile. Yeah, so no Purple Heart for him, right? So they've already buried him and dishonored him enough. I've dishonored him enough with the way I've failed and made mistakes in life and didn't step up the way I needed to step up when our kids needed me. So I feel like if I give up on our country or the hope that our country is, that would be the last way I could betray my husband. And I believe in our country and I believe in the underdog stories. And I think we still are a great, big, beautiful country packed with amazing people. And I don't want to give up on it. It could be the best or worst decision I've ever made. But, you know, at least if we go down, at least I will be able to say, my kids will be able to say to their kids, your grandma tried. You know, your grandma gave everything she can. There's no disgrace in failure or not reaching that goal. I think there's just disgrace in giving up on it. So
I love it. Do you have your walk-up music for when you speak?
what is it going to be? What's it gonna
LL
be?
Cool J. Don't call it a comeback.
I've been
Okay.
here for years.
Yeah. I think that'd be perfect for you. That's interesting. And you have a kid well, your son is going to be an FBI agent.
Okay.
I'm really, Barb, I'm not, come on. No, your son's going to be an FBI agent. Is that I mean, 'cause
Well, it's not definite, right? That's his
Okay.
goal. That's his lifelong goal. His goal is, and he's working on an internship application for the FBI now.
yeah.
You balk at that because of the FBI just being the way they are.
Yeah,
I have a
Just
distrust of the
because-
FBI, but I think there are good people. Again, there are good people in these organizations, in these institutions, right? And I think
are.
it's going to take good people
Can
to
I-
bring it back.
Yeah, and listen, I can relate, not on that level, but at a different level, and you'll understand why. My second oldest daughter, and I'll reveal this here, I've revealed this nowhere else. Everybody knows she's a professional dancer.
Yeah.
She tours for Disney.
Oh, wow.
You want to talk about super proud of her, but it's Disney.
How does she feel about everything going on? Is she,
She's not excited about it, but
Okay.
I mean, they treat
That's
her
fair.
well, so she looks at it from a professional standpoint.
Yeah.
She tours all over the country. She's a professional
I know people that have
dancer
worked for
for
Disney.
dinner, right? For Disney. It's so I'm
dinner.
like, just don't let them turn you transgender.
Yeah.
She's like, no worries.
yeah.
No worries.
Yeah. No, yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? When you're with an organization, that's the
And-
point
and
where it's
Disney-
like, you want your kids to
Disney
be one of
has
the good
always,
ones.
Yeah, Disney's always treated their employees. I've known because I used to work events at Disney, so they've treated their employees always very well. So
I agree.
yeah. So the funny thing about the FBI, interestingly enough, you were not at January 6th. You weren't there. Elijah Schaefer was. I've come to the conclusion. I didn't know that.
He was in the Capitol.
I didn't know
He
that.
was in the offices.
I didn't know that until I found out Brandon Straka was the one that ratted him out, which I've learned some things about Brandon this week that I regret being so nice to him during the interview. Sounds like he turned out to be a steaming pile of shit, unfortunately. But I was there. You were there, Barb. Chad, you were at home.
Getting a prostate massage.
Getting his prostate massage.
Man,
Probably a
dream.
better idea.
It was warmer.
I was having my own insurgency.
He was warmer, by the way.
True, it was freezing that day, and I'm glad I went. I remember talking about the fact that I wouldn't believe me if I
Right.
saw what was on TV, that 6-minute loop of how horrible the day it was, and I can't stand behind the whole concept that what happened that day was terrible. I think there were some bad things that happened, but as a whole, that was one of my favorite days that I've ever had in my whole entire life.
And I had been to the two Stop the Steal rallies just the weeks before.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to be there January 6th, but we've talked about it. I just had a feeling.
yeah,
That I was like, I'm not supposed to be there today.
Dave, her husband had a feeling to not go.
I had a
You-
private jet
fiancé.
to go and
I'm
to
sorry,
bring me back
fiancé.
that night.
Yeah.
And I just
Of
like,
course you did.
Well, it
You
wasn't,
had a
wasn't my
private
jet. I was
I had a
offered
private
a
jet.
seat. I was offered a seat. My point is, there was
So
no
you
reason
knew
for
it
me
was
to
gonna
not
happen.
be there.
You
Right.
started it. You incited it. You started it. You left. I see what
I
happened.
did. I threw a firecracker in the crowd and left.
So I got interviewed by the FBI. Apparently, I'm the only one here that got that. So that was very fun. But you could tell he even said to my girlfriend, because he got to my girlfriend, he got to me by going through Kelly, and he's like, "Is Anthony available for the interview as well? Like, I see you guys were at the Capitol together." And what's interesting is he knew everything that her and he knew because we went out to lunch afterwards, and I do think he's a good guy, because I'll tell you, he's actually I've messaged him some questions about Mar-a-Lago. He didn't answer. He's like, I want out. He's been around for too long. He wants out. And he's like, I watch some of your shows, by the way. You do a great job. And one
I'm sure
day
he'll
I'm
love
gonna
this one.
Well, he might. He's one day I'm going to sit down with you and we'll have a beer and talk, and I'm going to tell you some shit that you wouldn't.
Good for him.
Yeah. So I think there is some good ones out there, but I will tell you, they know everything about us. So very few people know the exact story of how Kelly and I met, the full Vegas story. And when I went out to lunch at Hard 8 Barbecue with him and his partner, he goes, "This is a good story." He alluded to the fact that he pretty much has seen every private message on my stuff. Because he asked me, the big question, my company name at the time was Be the Change. He goes, "Is there any way that Be the Change can be deemed a hate group or inciting riot?" I'm like, can you listen to the name of the
Yeah.
crazy shit? So let's. So you saw Uncle Tom. Mm-hmm. Did you have you seen the whole thing in its entirety? Because I know you had to leave at one point.
And we just stepped out right at the end, but we stood over in the corner. We saw it.
Oh, okay. Great movie. Great job.
Incredible, yeah.
A lot of questions. Chad's going to be on the show next week, Chad Jackson. It completely flipped my head on a swivel about the civil rights movement, because at least in my mind, civil rights is still something that was a great movement. It turns out, if you see the movie, Uncle Tom 2, it's a Marxist, communist
Yeah.
organization. What did you do you think that there's any questions to that?
Look, I'm glad they stepped out into that arena, right? Because it is I've said for a long time, again, as a white man in America, you can't say the civil rights movement and Martin Luther King Jr. were socialist, Marxist, with a Marxist agenda. You can't say that because people are going to crucify you for it. You can say it, but it's not going to get any traction.
Right.
But the fact that these gentlemen and the lady were able to say it and say it so effectively and back it up is a powerful, powerful tool.
Yeah.
And what they did. Because it set the black community back beyond anything. And again, we know what the media has told us, right? For instance, you look back, I mean, you see pictures from back in the day. Donald Trump is the most rapped about guy. He's with Rosa Parks. He's rebuilding black communities, and suddenly he becomes president of the United States. He's the biggest racist that's ever lived.
Right.
Ever. And again, they manipulate the way people think about certain events, people, history, and that's what they did with the civil rights movement. But it's also what they did with the black community in early 20th century America in terms of making them look like so oppressed. And so, you look back at the black community in the 40s and the 50s, and they do a great job of pointing that out in the movie.
Yeah.
Of how these folks had cared about their communities. Fathers were there. They were in the home. They cared about how their families were presented. They went to church. They were people of faith. And so it's an interesting it's an interesting movie, but it's a great way that they backed up their stuff.
Yeah, I've always said the philosophy they always said that from Trump was racist when you say "Make America Great Again." I got it. To me, that concept was make America, take away the racism that was going on. But fact is, people respected their homes, they respected their families, they respected their elders, and everybody respected the rule of law. And even when it didn't treat them fairly, because I do think the black population was treated very unfairly for a long period of time. But people had respect for themselves and their country and religion, all these different things. And that's what the great America was. Yeah, get rid of the division. So then the last question, and you don't know the background, Barb, but for either of you, without the civil rights movement, because that's the question I want to ask Chad next week, is would we have still gotten, because I think it was effective, even though it was destructive, would we have gotten to a place where these two cultures melded together anyways? Granted, again, I think we've gone like this, but do you think it would have happened without the civil rights movement?
Asking me?
Yeah.
I believe that it would have. Look, not every white person in America in the 20th century was a racist.
Yeah.
Not every one of them wanted to hang black people. Not every white person in America wanted to have a lynching. They didn't. Was it there? And I've got this thing, we talked about it on the overtime of my show last week, where I said, everybody, but everybody has their assholes, right? Like every community has their assholes.
Yeah.
There's the white community, there's the black community, there's the gay community, there's the Muslim community, but we tend to judge the body by the assholes, right?
Yeah.
And you could take the euphemism and the metaphor as far as you want to take it as a funny example, but I don't interpret you, Anthony, by your asshole, right?
Yeah.
So, why do we do that? Why do we judge all of history and all the communities and all the people that are out there by the assholes?
Yeah.
That's what we do. And then we mark everybody. And that's exactly what Joe Biden's doing right now when he talks about Trump Republicans or Trumpies, MAGA Republicans, ultra MAGA, all of these things that they're doing to label people. They're basically saying, okay, are there assholes out there? Yeah, there are. They want to say David Duke voted for Donald Trump.
So did Gangbanger Steve if he got off his ass, or Gangbanger Daquan, whatever, he also probably voted for Biden if he got off his ass.
Louis Farrakhan voted for Barack Obama. So, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Right? And so you don't judge the body by the assholes.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do right now. So would it? Yes, I believe that it would have. Because, again, you go back to 1965. 1965, 75% of black homes had a father in them. Today, only 24% have a black father. Have a father in the black home, right? Yeah. So the fatherlessness, we know that's an issue in the black community. We engineered, Democrats, liberal progressives, Marxists, engineered the destruction of the black family. They did. Was Jim Crow right? No, of course not. It was not. That needed to be abolished. It needed to happen. Was segregation right? No. There were those things that needed to be dealt with. But, hey, that's called human history. That's inhumanity. That's man's inhumanity to man. You deal with those things as you grow as a civilization, as you culturally change. I mean, look, we were less than 100 years from the Civil War.
Yeah.
Right. So people were evolving. They were learning. So would it have happened? Yeah, I think it would have. With some interaction, I think some people had to intervene in on it. But again, it wasn't the civil rights movement, because if anything, I think that all of those things, this will get me in trouble, and I don't care. It set the black community back.
Yeah.
Further, because what it did, it turned them into victims.
Yep.
And it manufactured oppression.
I mean, what you said, there was non-racist people. I mean, my dad probably wasn't the best human being on the planet, but I remember a story he told me which wouldn't fit the narrative, which was his father. He dropped the N-bomb at the table. I mean, my dad would be 80 this year, so this was a long time ago, and he was in high school at the time. He dropped the N-bomb. Did you sneeze? Just let it go. Are you sneezing?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I had a weird itch on the tip of my thumb.
That's when
The only way to scratch it was with my tooth. I've been drinking tequila. My teeth are itching.
So my dad,
I'm not Barb drunk, but whatever.
So my dad said the N-word at the table, in the early 60s, late 50s. And you would think that that's just something done in New Jersey at the time.
Right.
His father grabbed him by his neck, put him up against the wall. My dad was 6'2", his feet off the ground. He still tells me the story. He said, if you ever say that at my dinner table again, you're not welcome back at dinner. And you wouldn't expect an Italian family in New Jersey to care about something like that. But I think there were non-racists, and we think that everybody was racist.
It was not. Listen, and I look back now as an almost 50-year-old man. I look back on growing up in the deep south of Georgia. Mm-hmm. I know that there were family members out there, cousins, uncles, and stuff. I look back and I'm like, yeah, they probably had some connections to some pretty bad things.
Absolutely.
Right? Probably not the best people out there. But in my home, right, in my immediate family, that was not accepted. That was not okay. That was not right, even then. And you got to understand, I was a ball player. I played baseball at university, and then I played at the pro level, and I did all these things. I mean, you get on a bus. There's white guys, there's Hispanic guys, there's Dominican guys, there's black guys, there's all these folks. You get on a bus, you ride through the night, you get out. 4 grown-ass men share a 2 double-bed hotel room. We're showering in the same room. We're walking around naked, and it's like we don't think about any of that stuff. Those guys were saying it, right? I mean, the black guys, it was worse than a rap song.
Right, exactly.
On the road. They were saying. So, you see that, and then now it's like things have changed. But it was never acceptable in my home in Augusta, Georgia.
Yeah.
In the 70s, in the 80s, it wasn't.
Were you raised in New York, Barb?
Mm-hmm.
How is it? I mean, people actually forget that one of the last standing KKK strongholds is actually Haddonfield, New York, or New Jersey, South Jersey. So that area of the country does have a lot of racism. My dad even has a great story of meeting Joe Frazier at one point and telling, Joe Frazier fixed my dad's tire, funny enough. Flat tire, my dad couldn't do it. My dad was a club owner or a club manager at the time and invited Joe to come in. He came in that night, and Joe Frazier was incredibly respectful, but that area was still very, very racist back in the late 60s, I guess it was. And Joe Frazier goes, there's all these women over me. Lenny, am I allowed to interact with them? And he goes, Joe, this is the number 1 challenger in the country for the heavyweight title. Sorry, Joe, it's just not the way it does out here. And Joe was very respectful. But that shows you that there was still a lot of racism at the time, of course. So in New York, were you raised around, was there any racism in where you were raised?
I think there's racism everywhere. I think to say otherwise is
Naive.
naive. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
Accurate.
So there is racism everywhere. I think there's also, I don't think racism is exclusive to being projected against black people. I think racism is projected against all colors of all people, right? But yes, in this sense and term, I think there is racism everywhere, and definitely minority people have suffered the worst from that and continue to suffer. So yeah, I think there is racism everywhere. I still see at my kids' schools, at their high school, there would be some kids rolling in with a pickup truck and the Confederate flag flying behind it. And I know a lot of people say the Confederate flag isn't a bad thing to fly, it's historic and all that. And yet, on the other hand, it also stands for something pretty hateful and a terrible time. So I personally don't think flying the Confederate flag into a high school parking lot with a mixed, or any high school parking lot is an okay thing to do, right? So I think it just sends the wrong message. And definitely those people who drove those trucks with the Confederate flag flying, more often than not, would display racist behavior,
Especially, I
right?
think, a while ago. I think there
right,
was
so-
it's sentiment changed, but we had to get rid of it anyways, because, I mean.
And
Right,
there's gonna
like,
be-
so I don't think
yeah.
that, I understand the history and the pride of the Confederate flag, right? But it's tone, it's time and place. Where do you fly it and why do you fly it and all that? So, but I think
Soon
you're
we're going to ban the
inviting-
American flag. I feel like that's where we're at.
Well,
at this
Well, we
well,
can't,
exactly.
but, right.
Pretty soon that's going to be hate speech as well, right?
Right.
Flying an American flag, and I've already seen that myself in the last couple of years, in personally. So, and, and having grown up in Georgia, I was never a guy who flew his rebel flag. I never flew the whole thing, but I understand the mindset behind
I
the
do
people
too.
who did. Right?
Yes.
You stated that, and that's fine. My thing is, and this shocks some people when I tell them, because people always say, well, what about, Confederate flag? And I'm like, here's the deal. Let me go back to a biblical principle. The Apostle Paul said in the New Testament, he said, if my eating meat offends you, I won't eat meat. He said, I can eat meat, but I'm not going to do it. Meat sacrificed to idols, it offends you, it's sin to you, so I'm just not going to do it. So the way I looked at it, and I said this back when they were still flying it over the Capitol in Columbia, South Carolina, and I said, you know what, take the thing down, because at the end of the day, if that is what's standing in the way of our unity, let's pull it down until we can come to an understanding, and let's come heart to heart. Again, biblically, God says to Isaiah, he said, come, let us reason together. Let us sit down and come together with each other, because what we're doing is we're going to continue to polarize ourselves and make ourselves right, but it's not right. You know what I mean? You may have the right to do something. That doesn't mean it's right to do it the way you're doing it always. And I catch a lot of flack for stuff like that. And I say, look, they want to ban the Dukes of Hazzard because he's got a flag on top of the car. And I'm like, that's stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Yes.
That's stupid. We should be able to look at our history, learn from it, and say, look, man, just because we've got this thing going on, it doesn't mean we're, carrying out some racial overtones, undertones, or intentions. But what we are doing is we're trying to honor a heritage that we believe is ours. It belongs uniquely to us. Look, the black community, they have their icons as well. They have their things that they put out there. They have things that are exclusive to them. There are things that again, there's overlapping of these things that if we wanted to use the same standards, we could say that. Look, and I'm saying this is a guy who was in and out of Africa for 20 years, right? I know what it's like to be the only white guy in the freaking country.
Right.
Like to be there, and I know what it's like to experience and live in the middle of racism that you are being prejudiced against. And a whole other discussion for another time is there's a difference between racism and prejudice.
Yeah.
We're all prejudiced. I'm prejudiced against white trash. I got a song CJ and I are about to record called You Ruined My Name. And it's basically, it says, you white trash keep giving us rednecks a bad name.
Yeah.
And it's called Bad Name. It's a whole thing about white trash is giving us rednecks a bad name. Again, I make jokes about being a redneck. People get offended with it. I'm like, no, it's the white trash that are the problem.
Yeah.
I don't get along with those people. I'm pretty prejudiced against the meth heads.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Listen, you ask the average black person walking down the street down here and say, let's go over to this neighborhood over here. And they're like, fuck you. I'm not walking in there. Are you stupid? And they'd say the same thing. They'd use the other colorful language that I just used about white trash. They're like, no, I'm not going to mess with those people.
Yeah,
They're
that
not.
makes sense. I got two very quick questions to end, and we'll have quick answers on them. But I was watching, talk about going to Africa. I was watching the What Is a Woman with Matt Walsh. I just have one really weird question. You were in Africa. You got the tribesmen, and they're constantly swatting the flies the whole time. Matt Walsh didn't have a single fly on him. Horses, white horses, have flies all the time. The dark horses don't have as many. Why is it that in Africa there was always flies on the tribesmen and not on Matt Walsh?
Well, let me put this the right way. Anything that you say in regards to this, I used to have these debates when I was in college, and people would say, oh, it's a genetic thing. All right. First of all, you've got darker skin. You're on the equator. You're going to sweat more.
Okay.
You're going to produce.
That's kind of what I
You're going to
assumed.
produce salty water. You're going to produce oils. You're going to produce things that are going to attract. Again, you've got Caucasian skin that's white. You're not as dark, so you're not going to pull as much. I mean, you go out there and put your hand on a white car in the parking lot. It's not going to be as hot as the one that's a black car. So basically,
I was watching like this, so where they were just swatting the whole time, and he's just standing there with no flies. Man.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
it's Matt Walsh.
And it's he doesn't.
It's the halo. It just
It's
keeps
something's
keeps
crazy.
everything off
Unless
of
you're
it.
a liberal, and then they just hate him. Okay, so real fast. Let's see. I'll leave the lighthearted one last. How do we in terms of people waking up, why is it important to wake people up, and are they waking up? Barb, we talked kind of about this in the car before.
Yeah, like 4 shots ago. But.
Okay.
So I can sum it up like this. I think it is much easier for a person to be manipulated, had one pulled over on them, than it is for that person to understand or recognize that they've been manipulated, right? So being manipulated, being gaslighted, I did this. I was in this abusive emotional relationship for years. It was really easy for me to accept that and buy into all the crap I was being told. When people started to point it out to me, I resisted and I pushed back because I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't see it. I was in it. And I think a lot of that is happening now. I think.
Like, how do people admit that they've been duped?
It's hard. It's hard to admit it. And I think we've all been duped in a lot of ways. We talked about a lot of that. 9/11, all this stuff, like Moonlight, we've all been duped, right? But I think it's the people who just refuse to acknowledge that there's stuff that they'll never know, that they don't know the whole truth, and who just believe the headlines at face value. I think they need the most awakeness.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to admit when you've been wrong.
It's really hard to admit.
That's where we're at in this country, because there's just no way anybody can go Biden to do it to kill.
And I think that's the key differentiator. I think the people who we most likely align with, we all understand that we're not right. Like, we don't know. We know that we don't know, but on the other side, they believe they know everything, and that's the way it is. And I think that's the wall we're up against.
And the only person 100% wrong in an argument is the person that thinks they're 100% right all the time. Plain and simple. Because again, I firmly believe my beliefs, but I'm also open to realizing there's some things that I've been lied to. What about you?
I listen to what Barb said. Absolutely, 100%.
People are awakening to a point, but it's hard to admit when you're wrong.
It is. But if you sit there and watch, what was it? Not Jake Tapper. Was it Jim Acosta or Jake Tapper, whoever just interviewed Sunday morning, Kamala Harris? And I mean, you how many of these interviews can we sit here and watch and just the wheels are trying to turn and nothing but pure ignorance is coming out of their mouth? Like, I don't give a rat's ass what Joe Biden says anymore. I don't care. One, because it ain't Joe Biden saying it. It's just he's the puppet. Somebody's got their hand up his ass and the stuff he says. So I think a lot of people are waking up to that going, come on, surely we got something better to offer than this.
Right.
Some real solutions that are here. But these guys, they're starting to see, they're trying to systematically crash the plane.
Apparently, Biden is being slammed right now for hosting an Inflation Reduction Act celebration. While today, I haven't looked at the stock market, thank God, but apparently it's the worst day in stock market history.
It's insane.
It's bad. It's almost 4% down today. Go Joe. Last question, very quick, because again, you've got a show. Chad, I've heard you have a show. Haven't had a chance to
have,
watch
but let's talk about Barb's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's anything with, has there ever been a show with a guest that was just very difficult to, and you don't need to name any names, but has there ever been a guest where you're just like, I can't get anything out of this person, or they can't be reined in, and have you ever not actually aired the show?
Yes, and yes, and yes. all the above. Yes. And I mean, I could go into like the different personalities of guests you have on your shows, right? And how to navigate each of them and work with them. But some of them you just can't breathe life into. And some of them are really engaging, fascinating people and all this. You're like, this is going to be a great, amazing interview. And it is like I would rather go back to Lou's funeral than have another minute with this person on my show, then air their show. And so there are some that I just haven't aired. There are some guests that come on, they have to prove how smart they are. Some guests pitch me to be on my show, and I look at them, I go through social media, I'm like, okay, this guy is good.
Sitting right here.
Yeah.
I'm right here, Barb.
Right here.
Awful. Yeah. Antagonistic, hostile. I mean, on and on. So yes.
Last word, who's been the favorite guest? And you can't name us. Just make it easy. Who's your favorite guest?
I can't name. I don't know who the favorite guest. The one that I would like to get back and do again. That is there's a lot of them because I really sort of have gotten better at it. I didn't suck at first, but I really wasn't good, and I was intimidated by a lot. So the one I would like to get back and do again is Patrick Bet-David. I wasted that interview with him, totally.
He's also evolved a lot he's
evolved a lot, right? So, but even back a couple years ago, there's a lot I'd like to get back, but he's one.
I think Jara Hutchins, she's been on his show before, so we got to get him.
Yeah.
Back. What about you? What's any guess that you? I mean, have you have
We've
to
never
air
not aired a show. I mean, look, there's a certain aspect of professionalism to what you try to do, and so you want to make sure that no matter who it is, you salvage the show, even if you have to take over and you're rude to the guest.
Did you just tell me I'm unprofessional?
Just wait for
No, I mean, y'all are professionals,
wait for tomorrow's show. You're gonna have to.
We're gonna rein it in. I'm gonna wring that chamois dry. Trust me.
You rode hard and put up wet.
I've had guys, the experts. It's always the experts that want to come in and talk about something. They're the most boring sons of bitches. And so, like there was one guy came into town, and I said, well, let's meet for dinner because I was fascinated by what he had to say. I'm not going to say his name, but. And we went out and we had drinks, and this guy was just regaling me with these tales and stories of his expertise. And he was telling great stories. I was like, dude, if you do this on the show tomorrow, it's going to be gold. Got on there, guy didn't have anything to say. Yeah. He had nothing to say. Like, he just clammed up. Like, I don't know if it was the camera, the microphone, me, I don't know. Yeah. But he just clammed up, and I had to carry the entire show. And
you can do that though. Like
I'm not a World War II expert.
Well, it's true. Sarah Gonzalez and I were talking about that last week, where because I gave her the same question, like who's the funniest host on The Blaze, and she of course went with you. But we talked.
Well, she has to because I'm her work husband.
Of course, she mentioned that, but she also talks about the fact that again, Crowder's got a great team. You have you don't need a guest. You don't need a second. Like you play well off the guest, but at the same time. You also can carry the show. Probably not on World War II history.
No. I can mess up some dates real quick.
Yeah, real quick.
But we've never scrapped a show. We've never done. I mean, look, the Blaze, they're great. But again, there was a time where it was me at my kitchen table.
Yeah.
Right, and or an ironing board in a hotel in Syracuse, New York, with microphones set up on it and a guest sitting across, at the desk chair from the hotel.
I did an interview with Cairo, Egypt today from the hotel lobby waiting for Barb to check in. That was super awkward. I'm like, oh, that's a fire alarm in the background. Awesome. So that's signifying the end of our country. There's a fire alarm that needs to be. But all right, we're gonna do
profound.
We're gonna leave final words for you, Barb, because you are the special guest and you're gonna be on Chad's show tomorrow. Chad, so I'm gonna have you quick final words. How do we? What's that? Can I help you? Peanut gallery. This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, anyway.
Final words, hope for the country, positivity. I know you did the...
no hope for the country. I think we're going downhill. I think we've got about 2 more years of this. Hopefully we'll at least get a red trickle come November. People need to turn up. They need to overwhelm the algorithm at the ballot box because I do not trust our elections whatsoever. And we're living in a crazy world. I don't know that we'll ever come back together. That is my bleak assessment on that. And that's where we're sitting. I mean, I'm diametrically, philosophically, spiritually, mentally, in every way opposed to everything that progressives stand for. So, and I think, likewise, they would feel the same about me.
Well, cool. Barb, we don't need you because it's the end of the friggin' world. So here we go. Sad thing is I don't fully disagree, but I do think there is a light. There's a light for those that are... I honestly, I don't mind separating at this point. I really don't. And I'm not saying I'm calling for a civil war or a segregation. I just think, I won't bother you. You won't bother me.
I think a miracle could happen.
Yeah.
A light could come on. God could part the heavens and touch some hearts. But that's where we're at.
Yeah. Because I think that's why this one's different than a lot of the other separations is religion is gone. So at least we could find God to save us and religion is gone, which they talk about in Uncle Tom too as well. Barb, final words after that steaming pile of... I don't even know what to do. If I had a knife, we'd be in trouble.
No, I feel suddenly a little more depressed than I did.
But honestly, I don't disagree with the
He just depressed the widow. Do you know what bad luck that is? That's really fucking bad.
But in all reality, I think that the good part is we know who our people are. We were talking about birthday parties earlier because, whatever. And I'm like, I think that's what we were talking about walking up. I also have had some whiskey. But we're talking about the fact that I just don't care. My circle's much smaller.
Right.
Oh, going out and buying drinks, buying drinks for people. My circle's smaller, and I don't give a shit at this point. I used to be the tab, and I hated that shit.
The thing that I found in Anthony when I first met him, and we got to know each other, and started building a relationship, is something that I saw in myself years ago. Is he was trying to find the middle. He was trying to find the common ground, right? And I think as you've evolved into this whole thing and gone further and further, it's kind of. You start to see the common ground harder and harder to find.
Very hard. You know what's funny? I actually had a buddy that knew Glenn back at the Blaze. Yeah. Back when he owned it, and I did a kind of a reel, like a 5-minute monologue, and I wanted to pitch a show called Somewhere in the Middle. Mm-hmm. That was literally the name of the show that I pitched, and I think it got sent, but at the time it was right during transition, so whatever year that was. But yeah, I want to find somewhere in the middle. And
We would all love to do that.
I would say I'm a passionate middle is what because I don't agree with all the.
I had somebody on Twitter call me out this morning. They called me a far-right extremist, and they said that I looked into their Twitter profile, and they said they're a centrist. I'm like, you're so stupid, you don't even know what a centrist is.
No.
You see a real centrist, and you don't even recognize it anymore. That's far-right to you.
True.
And an extremist. I would love anybody to tell me what's one thing that I've said that is extreme. All I've said is just, we question a conspiracy theory, or we look at, we are willing to have an open dialogue about the civil rights movement. Is that extreme?
Yeah.
Well, maybe in this day it is. I don't know.
Who knows at this point?
But everything, to me, critical thinking starts with this, the question, am I wrong? I think everything you think, everything you study, everything you ask, questions, say, I think you should start with the question, am I wrong? And when you analyze that, you're right on the cusp of critical thinking.
I like that.
And we don't do that anymore.
Speaking of somebody that never admits they're wrong, I'm just kidding.
We're going to dinner, right? Are we going to go?
Yeah.
We're going to dinner? Good.
Before Joe kills us, go ahead and give your hope to the country.
My hope to the country.
Hope for the country, whatever.
Help me, Obi-Wan. You're our only hope, right?
We need that hope.
I don't know. Look, I don't think we're a lost cause. Yeah, I think but I do think it is, again, foolish to think that we're all going to kumbaya and come together and just suddenly love and admire. I think there's a lot of healing that has to be done first. And I think it does begin with getting all these crazy fucking people out of office. I think we need to take the wheel away from these yahoos who are just driving us into the lake to drown us all. I think we need to do that first. We need to course correct. We need to at least stop the hemorrhage before we can start to heal. And right now we're just hammering common sense and kindness and decency. And I've seen a lot of smart people who I respect and care about behave in ways and say things to me and about me and other people and do things that shock me and make me sad, but they would say the same about me, right? So I think if we can all just at least begin to, the only common ground I think we have that people can agree to, that you can physically see, is that we are all American citizens, the ones who are here legally, by the way, like close to the border. I mean, start the borders, that's a whole other topic, right? So, but we all live here. We have to find a way to live here. Why the hell are we burning the boat that we're all riding on? Like, what is that going to solve? We're just going to all fall into the sea and drown, right? It's not sustainable. This hate, this insanity is not sustainable. So I think not until we all start to drown are we going to realize we have to build that boat up back together, whatever that looks like. I don't know. We all have different wings of the boat. I don't know what the fuck
No, I
is
get
boat,
it.
but
No, I
you know,
get where you're
like
going.
it can't all burn to, at some point people are going to realize, hey, this is dumb. We have to come together and rebuild it. It's just how much destruction is going to have to take place before we as a country, as a society gets to that point. I don't know.
We'll see in the midterms. All right, we've got the Chad Prather Show. You can find him pretty much. He's really easy to find. Apparently, so is his phone number. And then we've got Barb Allen. Make sure you follow her. She's actually going to be on Chad's show tomorrow, which will air well before. So it'll probably be like a week before this. She's going to be on Chad's show, and she's also got Flex Your Freedom. You can find it on all the different podcast networks. The latest book to find is called What Not to Wear. What Not to Wear to a Murder Trial. Chad's got it on there. It is right there, and also front toward it. Make sure you look up these books. We'll put the links in the comments. And what else? Oh, Great American Syndicate. Make sure you join there. I'll throw that link up as well. You guys are officially, you missed it on the first week, so now you get a hat that I'm sure CJ is going to steal that one as well.
Yes, you will.
Officially BFD, which means you're a big effing deal. That's the only time I said F in the whole episode. Weird. Thank you guys for joining.
Too.
I know, super weird. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate it. That was, I know, a little bit of a long episode. I hope you got to stick around. There was a lot of good stuff. Joe, our producer, has already left the room because he's like, you're well over time. Thank you guys for being here. Again, go to patreon.com/blunt force discussion to support what we do. Hashtag spelled out, bethechange.com. If you want to reach out to me, go to bluntforcediscussion@gmail.com. Go ahead and show Barb real quick. Go ahead and, if you can. Oh, see now, you sneaky son of a bee sting. So yeah,
Son of a bee sting.
I don't think that's the
Steal
right
that
size hat.
screenshot.
You've got a really small hat, the small head. That's fitting. So thank you guys for joining. Get out of here.